Hey Launchpad, it's Jesse with part two of my game room tour here. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, in this red case here, I have a DSI, a black one that I keep in there. I have several of those lying around, but that's kind of the one that I mostly use when I have to play the DS. Then I have these two Game Boy carrying cases here, which actually don't have a Game Boy or any consoles in them. They're actually filled with Game Boy Advance, original Game Boy, and Game Boy Color games. I just don't have the display room for them right now, so I just keep them in these bags. One of these days I'll probably throw them in cases and do like the cover project, but for right now I just keep them in there. And then over here is the top of my handheld shelf. Got a Final Fantasy 4, 5, and 6 all complete in box right there. Final Fantasy 4 is actually still factory sealed, so that's pretty cool. And then right behind that I have Pokemon Soul Silver and Pokemon Heart Gold, the big box versions. Moving down the shelf, have my DS collection. Yeah, my girlfriend is definitely the driving force behind this collection right here. She loves the DS. She's actually a really hardcore gamer herself, so one of these days I'll probably try to convince her to join the group or whatever. But yeah, she loves the games as well. And then my 3DS games, that collection's coming along pretty nicely. I think I have like 9 games for it right now. Then there's a Shin Megami Tensei 4 limited edition in the corner right there. Pretty cool. And then next to that, some more complete in box Game Boy Advance games that I have. And then got a Japanese Game Boy game there. And then these cartridges right here, these are actually Neo Geo Pocket Color games. I don't actually own a Neo Geo Pocket Color, but one of these days I'll grab it and then I'll start playing those. Got a few cool games in there like Samurai Showdown 2 and Gal Fighter, so definitely need a system to play those on. On this windowsill here, a bunch of little Pokemon figurines that I picked up at the flea market over the years. They're usually like $1 or less, so they're pretty inexpensive to pick up when I find them. Down here, here is my Pikachu 3DS XL and my Pokemon X and Y 3DS XL that I've picked up recently. Both really cool. Especially happy to have the Pikachu one. That thing's like crazy expensive and hard to find. I was lucky enough to actually find that brand new at a store when they first came out, and they were like sold out everywhere. So there's the Nintendo 64 box that I saved from the dumpster the other day that I had posted on the group. Still really happy about that. And then this guy right here, this is actually the original Fire Emblem on the Japanese Famicom. This is complete in box and everything. Actually found this for like $10 back in like May or June or so, and yeah, really cool to have that. Put that back there. All right. And then we have Chrono Trigger, complete in box, and Final Fantasy III, complete in box as well. Both have protective cases on them just to keep the boxes and everything in like mint condition. And then over here to the right, I have probably my two, I guess, most sought after Super Nintendo games. I think they're kind of cool to display. Ninja Gaiden Trilogy and Earthbound. Earthbound I found recently, as many of you know. And then to answer your question, Jorge, that you had asked the other day when I had posted that picture of this of the top of the shelf, the reason why I have Batman Forever up there with like Earthbound and Chrono Trigger and all that, that was actually given to me along with this DVD here from the Game Chasers, which they all signed, as you can kind of see there. But yeah, if you donated a certain amount for the DVD set, they also threw in a game that they actually hunted themselves. So it's really cool is the Game Chasers themselves actually hunted this and bought this and then gave it to me with the DVD. So I thought that was really cool. So yeah, that's why I throw it up here. It's special to me in that way. So behind the Game Chasers DVD is the final issue of Nintendo Power. So sad. Loved that magazine. This one's still sealed in the wrapper and everything. I have another copy too that I actually read, and I have that in my Nintendo Power box. One of these days I'll get that out. There's a Lugia guarding the games there with the spirit of Pokemon. Yeah, that was really cheesy, but yeah, Lugia's there. Cool. Yeah. All right. So down here on the shelf, we have my Sega Genesis games. Now, this isn't all my Sega Genesis games. As you can kind of see back there, I have more that I just don't really have room for to display. And there's even more loose cartridges behind these. But I definitely pulled out all the really cool stuff to show you guys. and put the less awesome stuff behind. Got Musha in there. Dat Musha! Yeah. Some more games down there, or loose Genesis games. And then going over here to my box Genesis games. And most of these are complete. Not all of them, but they mostly have the instruction booklets, and obviously the game too. Kind of lame if I just had empty boxes on my shelf. Be like, I don't actually own any of these, but, you know, I'm going to make everyone pretend like I do. That didn't make any sense. But yeah, whatever. Going down here, we have my NES games. Again, pulled all the cool stuff up front so you can see it. Or just the stuff that I really like. And there's another stack of NES games behind these that you can't see, unfortunately. But again, not anything as cool as the stuff up front that you just saw. Here are my Super Nintendo games. And then these two stacks up here up front, these are probably my coolest games that I own on the console. And there's two more stacks behind those on each side. So quite a few Super Nintendo games back there that you can't really see, but yeah, one of these days I'll try and get a better shelf to display them with. Over here, Breath of Fire 2, complete in box, and then Secret of Mana, complete in box as well. And then behind those is a bunch of Nintendo 64 games. The reason why they're covered up by these box Super Nintendo games is because the Nintendo 64 cartridges are horrible to display on their own, so I figured there was no harm in putting something cool in front of them, but the Nintendo 64 is actually my favorite Nintendo console of all time. I know it's kind of blasphemy among some collectors, but it's a system I grew up with, so yeah, I really like it. But yeah, those are most of my cartridge games, mostly. One's for you, Vernon. Alright, standing up here. Over here, oh, whoops. Here's a Super Smash Brothers Brawl and Melee there as well. I was playing those the other night with my girlfriend. But yeah, I got the NES top loader over there. Got that off of eBay a few years ago for a really good deal. Got the black GameCube with the Game Boy Advance player on the bottom. And then, moving over here, we have some of my PS3 games. And then in this cabinet right here, I got even more PS3 games. Let's see a few of those. And then, going over here, we have even more PS3 games. So that's where I keep all the PS3 games. This giant behemoth right here is my Sony Trinitron. Pretty good TV for retro games. And then down here, Sega Dreamcast. Then we have my white Japanese Sega Saturn console. Imported that from Japan a few years ago. Nintendo Wii, Pikachu N64, and original Xbox right there. Good stuff. Alright, stand up again. And then over here, my Wii sensor bar sitting on top of a Madden 94 cartridge, putting that thing to good use there. I didn't deliberately buy that, you know, contrary to popular belief, but yeah, it came in a lot that I had, and yeah, I just thought I'd put it to good use because it's pretty much worthless, so yeah. And then there's my Sharp TV, also pretty good for retro consoles. Unfortunately don't own an HD TV yet, so one of these days though I will. There's my Naoto Persona 4 statue that I got from the anime convention this year. And that's sitting on top of Tales of Xillia collector's edition with the statue and all that, which is pretty cool. And then down on this TV stand, there's a PS2 Slim, Super Nintendo, my 250 gig PS3 Slim, and then Model 1 Genesis with a Model 2 Sega CD. It's pretty cool. And then over here, we have a few more of my Japanese Sega Saturn games. These are the games that aren't as cool as the ones that are on the shelf, so I just put these over here for right now. And save shelf space for the cooler games. Here's a Knights North American Saturn game. That's actually my only North American Saturn game I own right now. I used to have a much bigger collection, but unfortunately, demands of life came up and I had to sell all of that. So this is the only one that I still have left. I actually picked this up, I think last spring or so, for pretty cheap. So it's one of my favorite Sega Saturn games. That's why I held on to it. One of these days I might get back into collecting North American Saturn games. And then over here is Time Crisis 2 in the big box with the gun con. And then below that, we have my PSP games over there. There's more on the shelf below. And then, whoops, let me get that out of the way. Some of my Sega CD games. There's also this Sega CD game as well, but dear God, whatever you do, stay away from this if you see it. Well, actually, it's pretty collectible, so, I mean, if you want to buy it, you can, but don't spend a lot of money on it. It's a horrible, horrible game, if it could even be called that. Alright, and then the grand finale of the collection, my PlayStation shelf right here. A bunch of my PS2 games and all that, and that goes down into the PS1. Let's go ahead and start from up here. This is a factory sealed Devil Summoner 2 limited edition. I have one that's opened and all that. That's actually on the shelf with the rest of my PS2 games, so I'll probably just keep this one sealed. This is a cool collector's item. It's pretty cool. And then below that is the Japanese PS2 that I found last week. Garrett, I know you'll find one of these someday. I know you will, but really happy to have that. And then next to that is Zone of the Enders HD Collection Limited Edition. It's one of my favorite games of all time right there. Love that game. It's a really cool collector's edition as well. Sitting on top of my PS2 big box RPGs, have the Demon Souls Deluxe Edition right there. Pretty cool. Lunar 2 and Arc the Lad collection. Have a Japanese PS1 game right there. It's Meitante Konen. It's like a point-and-click mystery game. It's pretty cool. Got a Yuna from Final Fantasy X too with the guns and everything. Ready to bust a cap right there. Yuna. Woo. Yeah. That Yuna. There we go. And here are my PS2 games. So I typically go back and forth between whether or not the PS2 or the Dreamcast is my favorite console of all time. I definitely do own the most, as far as like the size of my different console collections, the PS2 is definitely the biggest one that I have. I just have a smidge under 300 games on it right now, and that is growing pretty frequently. Although I really haven't found a whole lot of the other PS2 games that I'm still actively looking for. But I still do find like PS2 games I've never even heard of that it's like, oh, that looks really cool, and I'll pick it up and throw it in here with the rest of them. But yeah, it's really, really incredible system and very easy to collect for right now, if any of you guys are interested, but most of you already know that. And there's like Garrett and Vernon who have like behemoth collections of PS2, like just raining from the sky and swallowing the earth up and all that good stuff. They have biblical PS2 collections. Good for you guys though. You guys are awesome. And then here is my PS1 collection right there. Got a Tales of Destiny up top. Actually got that for my girlfriend for Christmas. Yeah. And then more PS1 games. Even more PS1 games. Got some long box PS1 games up top there. Or up top. I don't know what I just said. And that is it. Cool. So, thank you very much, guys, for hanging with me for 2 parts of this video, and hopefully it was enjoyable. Hope you like looking at my collection, and yeah, look forward to collecting and gaming with you guys in the future. Take care. Bye.